Great. Yes. Curt, if you're still online, I think I can see you.
Yes.
Yes. I want to introduce my good friend and very soon to be hopefully collaborator and a fellow venture capitalist across 3 continents, Curt Shi, to share some of his background and experiences and insights. Without further ado, I think we jump right into it, shall we, Curt?
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you start by telling the audience a little bit about yourself and your background and how you came to be a tricontinental VC.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. It's my pleasure. I'm from China. I started as an entrepreneur. I always said I'm a kind of a unsuccessful entrepreneur turned investor for many years. And basically, we have been operating a number of funds in Australia, China, and US. My focus is basically 2 things. First is I call it technology-driven ventures. Another one we just try for a few years. I call it lifestyle-driven ventures. So that's basically what I have been up to. The market we have been looking at is China, Australia, US, and Israel.
Yeah, could you talk a bit more about some of the funds that you've established in each of those markets?
Yeah, in China, we have this fund called Imprint Capital Partners, which both have the renminbi and US, foreign currency investment capacity. Because in China, everything, when you talk about investment, you got to know that you invest in renminbi driven startups or foreign currency driven startups. The first one will be aiming at the capital market exit in Chinese domestic capital markets. The US facility rather will be looking at the exit in international markets. And when I say international, I mean compared to China. Then we have a fund in Australia called Follow the Seed, which has been operating for 5 years too. We also have a lifestyle-driven fund in Southern California called Wellington and Shi Capital, which has been being in operation for around a little bit more than 1 year. We operating roughly around $600 million US in total.
Great. Curt, I mean, it's really interesting that you have these 2 focuses in deep tech and lifestyle companies. I mean, they sound like they couldn't be more different from each other. How did you fall into that? How do you manage to attain success in both sectors?
Well, to do the technology-driven startups, it's a no-brainer because I'm kind of from that background. I was starting my internet entrepreneurship journey back in late 1990s. So later on, so when you know back into the early 2000s, when you talk about venture capital, you mean you invest into internet basically. So that's basically what I have been coming through. So to invest into technology is a no-brainer for me. Then why I'm into what I call lifestyle-driven business? Because that's basically because of my personal hobby and passion. When I was young, I was dreaming to become a professional skateboarder, but even I didn't succeed. But this has become my lifelong hobby, and more and more, I also see huge opportunity in the lifestyle-driven business. Especially again, as I'm from the Chinese background, you heard the so-called consumption upgrade a lot in Chinese market. So So people in Chinese market are just too hungry for the new brand, the new lifestyle. So it means huge. In the meantime, even in the mature market, developed economies like Australia, US, we also seeing this is another interesting sector which easily can establish an identity, a community base, and then that you can create a barrier. Every venture you can create a barrier would be a good business. So that's why we have been doing this. And so far we have invested in a number of portfolios in this regard, and it has been actually going very good.
Great. And just on that point, could you share with us some of your proudest investments to date?
Well, never say. I try to avoid the word proudest, but I mean we are proud of every basically maybe basically
Very
every portfolio
diplomatic.
we have
Most
invested.
successful then so far.
And well, it's also difficult to say, but yeah, maybe give you some examples. Like we invested when buy now pay later companies from the US called CISO, which a lot of Australian peers should be very familiar with, because Australia, believe it or not, has becoming the world center for buy now pay later kind of offering.
We have
Thanks for the
indeed.
successful, successful case of Afterpay. It's very interesting. But even though what I'm trying to say is that we do not look CISO as a fintech company only. We look at more like a lifestyle-driven company. Why? Because it's more appealing to the younger generation, to the so-called millennials. In China, it's more appealing to the people who born after 1990s, 2000. We call it post 1990s or post 2000 newborns, kind of the generation that likes this kind of new consumption payment model. So that's I would say that's a very good example of a lifestyle-driven business, and it of course can perfectly combine with the technology as well.
And is there another example you could give around the intersection between lifestyle and technology investments?
Yeah, sure. Like we invested proudly in a Swedish company called Cake, funded by a serial entrepreneur. We have been knowing the guy for some time. Uh, Coincidentally, my American partner, Per Welinder, also from Sweden, who probably one of the best well-known skateboarder out of Nordic countries. Uh, so um, uh, they developed that they have been this company called Cake. They have been developed the next generation electric off the road motorcycle, which has been going really well so far.
Great.
This is
And
another example. Yeah.
could you talk about some of the so in these couple of examples or any others, what stage did you get in, and are you able to share the sort of return multiples in some of
Oh,
these examples?
we actually, because we have a number of funds, especially our fund from China, Imprint Capital, which is very flexible. We basically can invest in every stage, but I personally still love to invest in the early stage or growth stage, which usually excites me most. So like for the case of CISO and Cake, we invest in very early stage, even though it's not seed stage, but very early stage, kind of like pre-Series A, Series A kind of stage. And in a result, somehow they generated this better return because they're coming early.
Very good. And given that we're talking in this context mainly on the theme of AI and automation, and I know that you are looking at some AI ventures very closely right now. what would you say are some trends, especially cross-border trends, if you may, that you think is of interest and notable?
Well, this is very, very big topic. To be
And we
honest,
have limited time.
I'm not an AI expert, but I'm trying my best. So I think cross-border itself is another interesting trend. Also, as I understand, like the AR technology in different markets, in different countries, could be interesting in a different way. For instance, in China, especially in the previous 5 years, people are looking at more fundamental, deep tech-driven AI, more general, all spectrum or fundamental technology-driven kind of startups. There are a lot. While in Australia and the markets like Israel, I see more AI startups, ventures focusing on specific applications, which also fascinating to me. Of course, in the future, I see something also common. For instance, we see more and more personalization, real-time kind of AI technology becoming everywhere, becoming more compatible with devices, with hardware rather than only software. It is more and more compatible with the big data when the data becoming more and more accurate and more available. So yeah, I think a lot of course, also I see the trend that more and more it has been associated with a specific industry, just like today, one of the previous presenters, like for instance in the retail industry, in the fintech, even in the sports. Sports is another sector we like very much. Yes.
And
a lot of good things happening. Yeah.
And so, what are some advice or tips that you might give to investing audience today that you have garnered over the years, both in an AI context and even outside of AI?
This is a very, very, very cool question. One thing, because for early stage investment, like what Keiretsu has been doing, and for early stage VCs, I think everyone is talking about to find the right people. For me, to find the right people, one of the key things is that if you see that those founders find something they can do with a passion, with a mission, with a full excitement, which seems to me more important, even especially for the market of China. I mean, not so many deep tech driven startups, successful companies like Alibaba, when they started, it's not technology driven. It's more like a business model driven. But everyone sees that how excited every time Jack Ma is when he talks to people. So that's exactly one very, very cool example. You can feel that the excitement of the founders, of the passion. Then I think I mean he's not doing it for instance, not for money, but for his personal lifestyle, ambition or whatever. Yeah, so that sounds more interesting and important to me.
So have a mission and stick to it.
Passion, mission. Yeah.
Great advice. Now, I think we might have a few minutes to just open up questions to the audience. I believe there are some people keen to ask some questions to Curt.
I had a question, if that's all right.
Sure.
Just in relation, because I know you're working across a lot of international borders, and you've got 3 VC funds across several continents. Do you find that those transnational borders, or I suppose cultural barriers, have difficulty overcoming, especially because you've mentioned before that you invest based off passion, you invest based off late stage, but also you said very much early stage. And I imagine in the early stage, it could be difficult to gauge the atmospheres of different countries. I know you've been brought up multinationally as well, but I'd be interested to see what your advice would be towards that.
You mean the difficulties, right?
Yeah, so towards any cultural barriers, especially with earlier starting. Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, I like this question. Still, we go back to people. We do feel that in different culture, rather than talking about different markets, I would like to say different cultures, because that's the key thing to make things different in many ways. It is very, very easy like for people when you are used to certain kind of thinking style, then it's very easy for you to apply that to another different market, which happened to me. Sometimes it's so different. For instance, in Australia, it's more a B2B driven market compared to China. In the last 20 years, it's more B2C. America maybe also B2C, B2B is kind of in a more balanced way, but there's still a lot of more B2C opportunities in the US. So actually, I would say a lot of investors out of Chinese market, they're very used to invest into B2C rather than B2B. But in Australia, we do see a lot of B2B opportunities. So you need to change your thinking methodology for sure. Number two, to overcome this kind of issues, I think the best way is to try to find the local partner to work together with. For me, because I happen to migrated to Australia actually early 2000, even I have not spent a lot of time here. I did accumulate some right and good connections here. And in the US, because we in the recent years, we invest into the lifestyle-driven business. Of course, lifestyle is so big. We focusing on the certain aspect of the sector. Thanks for my again for my partner who has been in the active lifestyle for his whole life. So it's easy to find the right contacts and to find the right deals out of the right connection. I think this is very, very important.
Great answer. And last quick, light-hearted question. I think that's all we have time for. You mentioned a lifelong passion in skateboarding. So can I ask, what's the coolest thing you've done on a skateboard?
Well, as I said, I was not very good, but when I was very young, I like to do the big ollies. I can do some big ollies, like ollie over a stairway or something like that. Yeah. But similar to the technology, the skateboarding, surfing, all this kind of active sports, they have been developing very, very fast. I mean, 20 years ago, the most difficult trick today maybe only the entry level. So it's very, very different.
The bar is rising.
Yeah.
Great. I'd love to see some videos of those early activities if possible. So,
but my partner was one of the best. Yeah. He was the only
that was a partner
freestyle
selection
skateboarder.
criteria, right? You got to be good at skateboarding.
Yeah, he was one of the best, one of the only guy ever beating Rodney Mullen, who is one of the best freestyle and all-style skateboarder. Yeah.
Right, great. So there we have that.